Hello and welcome to the Story Engine podcast. My name is Kyle Gray, and today on the show we have Dr. Julie Olson. We're going to be exploring the metabolic issues with hair loss and some of the really deep emotional and psychological effects of hair loss with Dr. Julie today. And we're going to be exploring her unique and holistic solution that's bringing hope to women everywhere. So without further ado, let's hand it over to Julie Olson. Julie Olson, welcome to the Story Engine podcast.
Thanks for having me here.
I am so excited. I've been seeing you moving and shaking in the Speakeasy Mastermind for months now, and I'm excited to have you here. But let's start off things right by introducing you to the audience. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you're showing up in the world today?
Well, today I am a triple board certified nutritionist and a functional medicine expert. And I'm known most for my root cause approach and solution for female hair loss, and to just help women worldwide understand that it's not a cosmetic issue, it's a metabolic issue, and give them hope and health, and so they can look and feel their very best.
Metabolic issues it's something close to my heart. I'm grateful to have enough hair of my own, so it didn't really manifest in that way, but I've gone through a lot of autoimmune and digestive and metabolic issues. And one of the places that I've really felt the impact of this was not so much in my physical body, but I felt a lot of what I call biological anxiety. And I was never really able, even in years later and working with lots of functional medicine experts, to feel the biological anxiety and think, oh, it's gut dysbiosis, not, man, my business is falling apart, or I'm not doing good enough, or making all of these stories. And I think whatever the case may be, and like in your case with hair, these metabolic issues have so many different roots and complexities and can impact us in so many different ways. And it takes a really a deep expert to connect all of these dots that don't really make sense unless there's somebody like you around.
Yeah, and let's start with the metabolic angle with genetics. So a lot of people in the past have said, oh, I have hair loss because it's genetic. I have cardiovascular, I'm going to have a heart attack because my dad did. They blame genetics. And the new science of epigenetics is actually blowing even hair loss analogies out of the water, because you take identical twins, right? The exact same genes, but they live different lifestyles and make different choices. And one of them loses all their hair and the other one keeps their hair. Now, why is this? Well, they have the same genes, but they expressed the metabolic genes differently. Now, you can't change your other genes. The genes that I'm talking metabolic genes, like your gut health genes, the genes that basically work in the physiology of your body. And so it's really exciting, this new study of epigenetics. It's your lifestyle choices, your food choices, what you're thinking, what you're saying to yourself, how your relationships, your job. It all is a big basis of functional medicine, which is, I kind of got down a rabbit hole, but
no worries.
Metabolic health is the core of functional medicine. Even Hippocrates said way back when, good health starts in the gut.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think you work in a realm that's particularly visible. And as somebody who has long hair, though I don't understand this nearly to the depth of what I think a woman experiences in this, It's really become a part of my identity. I had longer hair when I was younger, and now I have longer hair now, and people respond to me in a certain way. They make certain assumptions. There's a really big symbology and meaning to it, and I'm certain that as a woman, your relationship with your hair impacts a lot of different areas of your life and your relationship with yourself. And I'm sure you've seen this story play out in so many people that you've worked with. Can you describe like a woman's relationship with her hair and the meaning that she has with it and how important this work really is?
Yeah, it's their crown of glory. Our hair
Mm.
is our crown of glory. And it goes back to ancient times. They call it the crown of glory. I mean, to sidetrack, there was a time in Egypt where women shaved their heads for religious purposes, but you go back as far as ever, and that women are associated with their hair. So when they lose it, then it's devastating on many levels. And the chapter in my book, the physiological effects, the psychological effects of hair loss, is there's just so many studies. The studies are endless, and sometimes, when. So that's a quick answer. The crown of glory, and I want to go into the stress part of it because it's kind
Yeah.
of
Or
is it the
what
chicken
are
or
some
the
of the
egg?
psychological effects of hair loss? What are a few of these things? How does it impact somebody?
Their confidence, to
Mm-hmm.
how they show up in the world. It can affect a relationship. It can affect their job. It can affect the way they present, the way they speak, um, and then the stress just makes it worse because systemic stress, chronic systemic stress, not acute stress, but systemic stress, what it does is it creates those inflammatory cytokines, and it inflames the scalp. It inflames the body first, and it prematurely bumps the hair into the resting phase. So we have three main phases of hair growth. We have the anagen phase, the growing phase, the catagen phase, the regression phase, and the telogen phase, the resting phase. So when we're under this chronic stress, it prematurely pops you into the telogen phase, the resting phase. And chronic stress, too, as a nutritionist, your body doesn't know whether you're running from a lion or you're distressed about what have you in your present lifestyle. And it makes it nearly impossible to absorb those nutrients. And they've discovered that we have a scalp microbiome. You're
Hmm.
very familiar, Kyle, with the gut microbiome.
Oh
The
yeah.
newest one they've discovered is a scalp microbiome. But it's really interesting because it actually requires more nutrients and more energy than our regular microbiome because it has such a high metabolism. And since our hair is not a vital organ, right? When we are under stress or when something is out of balance in our body, it's going to protect our vital organs first.
Mm-hmm. And when you say stress, I think there's two different kinds of stress occurring here. There's the metabolic stress that is something happening in our biology or our system, in our digestion, that's creating stress. But all of the psychological effects that you mention also creates stress and can probably really accelerate the problem that we're already stressed about, which is a really unfortunate vicious cycle to be in.
Yeah, and it's not fair to women, I don't think, because it's just not accepted for them to like be bald. I mean, some women can do it so well, like they're beautiful, but most women can't. Men can rock it, it's in fashion. But so what women do is they go out and buy hair extensions that make it worse because it pulls on the hair, or they, you know, do some expensive procedures or even get hair transplants. I've have a lot of women come to me that have had hair transplants, and the unfortunately the science, the all the research I've compiled, only 49% of them work long term, and there's some that are really awful. But what really bothers me is when they go to get the hair transplant or PRP, some other treatment, they don't even do labs first. They don't, what, they don't even ask first why their hair's falling out. And that's another reason I'm in this space, because when I was 38, and I'm 62 years old now, but when I was 38, my hair was falling out in handfuls and clumps, months after months. And it got so bad, you could see all my scalp was clear as day. And this is before, again, I was in this health space. I went from practitioner to practitioner, and they all basically said the same thing, that there's not much you could do. It's probably genetics, but you can try some lifelong medications. And I get those women come to me all the time, and it's that
Yeah,
there's
that's
so much
really hard.
more to it than that.
And this is one of the things that you do differently that's really unique and hopeful about your approach is first doing labs and having a deep level of research and understanding in the whole body and the holistic approach. What else about your philosophy and your perspective in healthy hair fix? What are the ways that you want to highlight and showcase why you're different than most of the other doctors out there just trying to push medication on you?
Well, medication's a bandage. It's not getting to the root cause. And I like the challenge. Hair loss is very complicated. It's some say it's more complicated for men, some say for women, but it is different between men and women. The causes, and it presents differently. But back to how I'm different, it kind of goes back to just who I am in general. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I was curious and wanted to know why. I was, why does this work this way? Why the why behind pretty much anything, and then I also added on to that because I was fearless. I wasn't afraid. For instance, Kyle, you grew up skiing, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Good.
and so I'm from Colorado, right? So I grew up in a suburb of Denver, but I skied quite a bit. But I didn't have any real formal training, but I even won the town Aspen League 2 years in a row, against girls that grew up in Aspen. But the point is, I have this fearless mindset, and then I'm curious, and then the curiosity is that I like to analyze data, and it really falls well into hair loss, because if even if you're missing one of those things, you're not going to have it's not really the patience, but you're not going to want to dig deep with that person because you're just trying to move on to the next patient or what have you. And I love the challenge. So.
There's a lot of dismissiveness in the modern medical system, and I think particularly with women, it's hard. It's a difficult thing to just be written off and just be told, take more medication and call me in 6 months so I can give you a higher dose of the same medication, and not listen. And I think one of the things that I would imagine is really unique about your process is getting your hair back is just one of the more wonderful things, because by solving things on a functional level, on a metabolic level, you're going to be feeling better emotionally. You're probably, maybe your skin's better, your digestion's better, your sleep's better, energy. so many different aspects of you get better and more lively through solving this problem. That and then the hair growing back is obviously the main event, but there's so much more goodness to be experienced if we go down the path with you, rather than probably taking medication and side effects and confusion and
Yeah.
expensiveness, which we've all illustrated. And it's not even solving the real deep underlying problem.
Kyle, I love that you get that. I love that you get that. Some practitioners don't even get that, but you're exactly right on it. Because exactly, because if the body is all together, but these doctors, they specialize, and and they almost think that there's, yeah, you're
It's like
exactly right on what you
they
said.
think they treat the body like a mechanic treats a car, and they think, okay, well, the gas pump's broken, and if we can just fix the gas pump, and just like trade out little bits and bots and pieces. But there's so many things, and we've already explored some of this, of like being stressed about your hair and what's happening to you actually can accelerate the same processes, and that's just a mindset. And I've learned deeply in my own experiences, it's such a strange world of my mindset can impact my metabolism and my physiology, and my physiology can impact my mindset. And it's really hard to have a very good, clean mindset unless you get your metabolism in order first. And sometimes we need to work on our mindset anyway in order to get where we need to go. And so without this whole holistic exploration and this deep curiosity, it's going to be really hard. And just going into a doctor and getting dismissed is not going to be enough to get like your women where they really want to go, especially
Right.
on such an important and deeply symbolic issue that, or at least that has its roots in hair.
Right. And it's also talking to people like you and getting the word out, because I've I've come up with over 76 reasons of hair loss, but I put them into 5 functional root cause categories. You want me to tell you what those
Yeah,
are?
let's hear them.
Okay. Hormonal, digestive, that includes nutrition and gut health, inflammatory, toxins, and stress. Now, there's a ton of overlap there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, but the newest one I added was toxins. And people have a really hard time connecting. Oh, why am I, what is, like, the eating out of plastic, or what does mercury fillings in my mouth have to do anything with my hair loss? Or
Or scented
um
garbage bags. I
yeah,
hate those things.
yeah. Yeah, those there's just so many more toxins now in our environment than years ago, and um it just depletes our immune system. And again, it's just a vicious cycle. I mean, the xenoestrogens mess with our hormones, um, that are, basically found in plastics, and, um, bad deodorant, and
Mm-hmm.
even, there's so many cosmetics and hair things that make it worse too. They make you look better, but they're full of toxins. And then you go into the food, sprayed with glyphosate, and yeah.
Yeah. I think it is a unique and difficult challenge for a woman, because these cosmetics are constantly pushed on this and this expectation. And if it's creating this literally toxic, vicious cycle, it's very difficult to escape from or even
Right.
like question. And I like kind of going back to your curiosity and fearlessness to really challenge some of the things that we would maybe take for granted as normal, but really need to be questioned in these ways. And yeah, most of us don't realize or understand the increase of these toxins in our society. And it's not the same as it was in the 80s or in the 50s or in these things, but modernity has a lot of drawbacks that most people aren't really willing to admit or confront uh, that exist at all. And
Yeah.
I love living in the modern age, and I think it's great to be here. And if we can't like acknowledge these things, I think this is the like a lot of these things. While it manifests with your people and hair, like this is almost an existential thing where we need to be able to understand our health and have a healthy relationship with ourselves and as well as the earth. This is like environmental as well. And if we're not able to do that, then like these metabolic problems are going to get worse and worse and more complicated. And I see that happening where the things that I went through, a long time ago were very rare. And now they're happening for like younger and younger people and kids, and they're even being born with metabolic challenges that not too long ago just were very rare or non-existent.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Even cesarean births are not getting the probiotics. A lot of women are having cesareans now, and it goes back to just kind of like foundational living. I met you when I got back from Europe. I was there for a month, and I spent 2 weeks in a blue zone in
Mm.
Sardinia, Italy. And I mean, the food tastes different. The wheat. The first time I've eaten like pasta in years, but the reason I bring this up is because you know they sit down and actually enjoy their food and chew it and
Mm-hmm.
eat real food. They cook. They all have gardens and they cook. And that was part of my problem.
Hmm.
I was trying to be this big wheeler. I worked at Warner Brothers and media research. I was eating at Taco Bell, but I didn't know any better. And a lot of people just don't know until until they do get sick. And another example is my grandmother. She loved to cook, and she lived 104 on no medications. And she just stopped eating. She's like, I've had enough. But
Hmm.
people have lost even the know-how to cook nowadays. I have people come to me and they've never cooked.
Hmm.
Yeah, they don't know how. And that's because our modern society makes it so easy, but then you're going to get in those bad seed oils and preservatives and too much salt, and of course you're not going to get organic, and it adds up.
Mm-hmm.
Those toxins add up in your body. I mean, I can test them, but
Yeah. I'd love to um, turn the focus back on you. Maybe this is well, you were already mentioning when you were 38, and I'd love like a very specific time and place where you were facing these challenges when you were like experiencing the loss of the crown of glory in a vicious cycle. Maybe this was impacting how you showed up in the world, or there were some ways that you were trying to compensate how it was impacting your relationships personally and your job. You mentioned Warner Brothers, and how you're presenting yourself to the world. When was a very specific time and moment when you were struggling with these same things?
yeah, so it started with a call when I was at Warner Brothers that my mom had stage 3 cancer and was going into emergency surgery the next day. So, um, even though I loved it there, it was my dream job, and got promoted a couple times. I even worked on Friends, the syndication of Friends. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I decided that I needed to support my mother. So I moved back to my hometown, um, home state of Colorado, and worked in television here. So that's I was working at CBS in Denver, and that's when my hair was falling out in handfuls. And I remember just saying to my office, I wasn't, I worked in research, so I was crunching ratings shares, cost per thousand, and stuff. Um, but I remember hiding in my office as much as possible, just, just, and then I ended up getting more interested in why my mom got so sick, and then realized I was putting blinders on my own health. So I actually quit. I quit the whole media career. I climbed my way up and I quit and went back to school to study nutrition and functional medicine. And it's the best thing I ever did.
Before we get more into the solution,
Yeah.
I want to hear about hiding in your office in Denver and maybe some of the specific ways that you were trying to compensate or hide, or judgments that you had about yourself in this time.
I kept asking why and why. I remember it was all over my suit. In the morning, I took a shower. It was all over the bathroom, drain, and I brushed my hair, and it was all. It just, I just, I could. It was driving me crazy. And then, I went to many practitioners, and they just had no answers. That was, I think, that's what made me feel so defeated and embarrassed and humiliated. I was humiliated. I was devastated. It sucked.
Yeah, of course. Rightly so.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are perfect details. And now I want to hear about a time where, like, when was the time where you finally started to feel under control like this? You started to understand the different hormonal, digestive, inflammatory things. Your hair started growing back. You had confidence, not just in your appearance, but in your ability to take care of yourself and restore this. When was a real moment of victory for you?
Um, After I started studying all this, I mean, it took a while, but I discovered, do you want to, I, I was really quite taken back what I discovered because Kyle, I thought I was just tired all the time because yeah, I was out partying and especially in LA I met a lot of famous people, went to some really amazing parties, and I thought I was just tired, but I discovered I had Epstein-Barr virus really bad, like really high,
Mm-hmm.
like 6,000 range. The normal range is like 200. And I traced it back to the gal in our office had mono. So, but that was just one thing. I had H. pylori. I found out I had some major food sensitivities. Um, some tests showed I was celiac. Some showed I just had a major sensitivity to gluten. Um, so
But let me
my
hear
list is
about
long.
the yeah, not the conditions that you had or how you
Yeah,
discovered this, but a real
yeah,
moment of victory. This is probably a few years down the line. Maybe you saw
yeah,
your hair coming back, or maybe you
yeah,
you finally had a full head of hair and you were looking in the
yeah.
mirror again and you were finally proud, or you took a vacation and like experienced that. Like, when was this moment of resolution and victory for you?
Yeah. Um, it's definitely a couple years after quitting. And it wasn't just like one day I noticed. It was so gradual because that's
Mm-hmm.
how hair is. It gradually, but I'm not sure if I just realized one day, hey, you know what? I did it. I overcame it naturally. Um, but I will have to tell you that um, I started in my nutrition career working for um, other organizations and other practices, functional medicine practice, and I was actually a nutritionist for natural grocers when I started, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it wasn't until I opened my own practice um, that I decided to specialize in female hair loss, and that's because um, I had so many women come to me that, just like myself, they had a lot of other problems, but what was front and center and what they really cared about is their hair loss. Goes
Hmm.
back to that crown of glory. I mean,
Tell me
yeah.
about the practice. Was this a physical practice? And tell me about the first day stepping into your own office.
Yeah, it was nice because I knew I could make all my own decisions, and it felt empowering. It felt almost a relief. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it felt good. It felt clean. It felt right.
Yeah, beautiful. Are you ready to hear your story, Julie?
Sure.
I'm in my office. The blinds are drawn. I feel so ashamed as I'm brushing bits of hair off of my nice suit. I bought new clothes that looked as good as possible to try and distract from the receding hairline. I loved my job and I loved my work, but working in television in one of the most visible places and having something so personal to me, my own hair, starting to fall out was driving me crazy. I kept asking, why is this happening? Why am I seeing so much in the bathroom drain? Why is this happening? Especially after so much challenge of working with my mom and trying to help my mom who had cancer and was going into surgery. And I thought I was doing so much and doing all of the right things. While my job, I was making good money and doing what I could, I wasn't really taking care of myself. I could eat out at Taco Bell in the evenings, and I would stay out late at parties and be having a lot of fun. But I found myself being tired all of the time, being frustrated, and losing more and more hope. I kept seeing many different doctors, and they would say things like, oh, it's genetic. There's not much you can do. You can try expensive hair implants. You can try these medications, all dismissing me before I even had a chance to really share my story. And there was just one too many times. And I decided that something needed to change. I was a curious person. I was a fearless person. And I was not going to let this define my life. And I left my job in television and began the most important journey of my life. I started understanding things like functional medicine, metabolism, digestion, hormones, and how all of these things would impact so many different elements of the body. Over my course of studies, I found that there were over 76 reasons that somebody could lose their hair. And they boiled down to core things like your hormones, your digestion, inflammation, the toxins in your life, and the stress that you were experiencing. I was amazed that so many of the cosmetics that I had been using for so long and were very expensive and felt almost mandatory to go outside were causing a lot of these problems that I was experiencing, not just my hair loss, but my fatigue, my brain fog, even the stress that I felt was not even entirely my own mindset. And over time, my jaw dropped at seeing how confusing and often unfair the system was to me as a woman. And after many years of dedicating myself to health, I can remember for the first time opening up my own practice. My hair had by then, slowly over time, started to grow back. And I can remember feeling like I really did this. And I can remember for the first time being in control of my body, of my metabolism, of my mind and my life, and deciding that I wanted to plant my flag exactly in here and help women just like you discover themselves and recover their hair. I started seeing so many women coming in, and I realized that this was the most important work in my life. You know, for me, it took experiencing the stress of loss of my mother, the stress of a high performing job in a TV station, and the constant judgment and challenge of reconciling with one of the most important elements of any woman's appearance to get me to this point. Now, for you, this could be impacting your relationship, your career, the opportunities you see, or even wanting to just go outside and spend time with your friends. But one thing's for sure is while hair loss is not just a problem that starts with the hair, it's something that impacts our whole body, our mind, and even our spirit. And when the better and the healthy hair fix, we go deeper than any other doctor. And I promise you that I can provide curiosity and intrigue and create a path forward that's not only going to help you get back in control of your hair, but you're going to feel more confident and in control of your whole life. I'm going to show you how we do that today.
That's amazing. You can do that.
Thank you. What do you think? I know you've been experiencing a lot of work around branding and books, and I know a lot of times health practitioners don't know how to shape their own story. Do you feel that this is in service to the people that you really want to reach?
It is. It is. And I would add there that my mother is a cancer survivor today. She's 91.
Amazing.
Yeah, but she really embraced everything I was learning when I was teaching her.
Oh,
So, and my sister
yeah.
had cancer too. So, goes back to the epigenetics where you really can repurpose those metabolic genes.
I agree. There needs to be a chapter in the story where your mom comes into the office and sees the impact you're making and thanks you for your courage to not only not give in to what seemed to be fate and something that you couldn't do anything about, to really standing up for you and your family and frankly all women in this process. There's something really important and powerful here to be seen.
Yeah, and also I just want to add that my sister, when she went through chemo and lost all her hair, she said that was worse than chemo. And my sister has never worn makeup in her entire life. Like she's not one of those people. Yet this really bothered her more than anything. So that was another reason for me to just really look at this. It really affects women on so
Mm-hmm.
many different levels, and I you know at the end of the day, and you said it perfectly, is giving women hope worldwide.
Yeah. This is one of the it's a very deep and it's a very powerful issue, and I'm so glad that we have revealed, while there's a lot of great scientific things to be explored, this is one of the most personal and even spiritual processes that a woman can go through, and you are helping people on a very deep level, and it has been a pleasure exploring this with you today.
Oh,
Julie,
thank you. Thank you,
where can
Kyle.
we go to learn more about you and send anybody that could need this particular kind of help to?
Sure, you can go to my website, and you know what? If you take the quiz, it'll actually rank you numerically on those five functional root cause categories I talked about, men and women. So then you know which one is the one that you need to address first. Remember the hormonal, inflammatory, digestive toxins and stress. So I would encourage everyone to do that. And they can find my website by my name, Julie Olson, OLSON.com.
Amazing.
And
Julie
then my
Olson.
social media
Oh,
handles are the same, Julie Olson FN for functional nutritionist.
Fantastic. Julie Olson, thank you so much for joining us today on the Story Engine podcast.
Thank you, Kyle.